Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariba Ahmed and today I'm here to tell you every single thing that I did while applying to medical schools in Quebec. Now the reason that I'm filming this YouTube video is because I posted a couple of videos on my TikTok. You guys showed so much support, so much love, and you guys also asked me a couple of questions. So I felt that making this into a YouTube video can cover a lot more content and answer your questions. Now I got a bunch of DMs on Instagram and trust me, I've seen all of them. So in this video, I'll try to answer all those questions. But even then, if you guys have any other questions, let me know in the comments and I'll definitely try and make another video of them or just answer you privately about that. But before getting into it, make sure you subscribe to my channel because I will be posting a lot more content related to my experience at McGill University starting this fall. So the way I'll be breaking this video is first my introduction and my reasoning for applying to medicine, because a lot of you know me as a content creator, but I am a pre-med student. I'll also be going over my journey from high school to CEGEP, and then finally getting into the application process that consists of academics, Casper Exam, and your resume. Now keep in mind, this is exactly how medical schools in Quebec assess your application. Some schools don't look at resume, but I want to cover everything just for convenience. If you're thinking of medical schools outside of Quebec and Ontario or rest of Canada, they do require the MCAT exam, which is a huge factor into consideration. I personally didn't have to write the MCAT exam because none of the schools in Quebec require that. Now what I applied to is the Med-P program, which essentially is a preparatory year of medicine, and upon completion of that year, you're directly promoted to med school. This saves you from doing a 3 or 4 year undergrad, but this option is only available for the CEGEP applicants. Hence, NBCM program is something that comes after undergrad, and it's the same application process except they're looking at your GPA instead of your score. My interest in medicine only sprouted a year ago, which might surprise some people. My mother is a doctor herself, and I just wasn't very fascinated by the lifestyle of doctors. It's a very long journey. They're always studying. But when I started to explore different fields in my life, I realized that medicine was for me. I always enjoyed anatomy since grade 9 when we learned about body systems and stuff. Also, a few incidents in my life made me realize the importance of healthcare workers, not in just the lives of the patient, but also their families as well. I went to an English high school in Montreal, which is where I took the International Baccalaureate program, and in grade 10, I took high math and high science, followed by taking chemistry, physics, and advanced math in grade 11. These are the prerequisites that you need to take for science or honor science or arts and science, any program that really consists of science. Academics have been a really important part in my life, so I did relatively well in all my classes, and then I graduated with Tamington Memorial Scholarship. I will talk about all these awards and extracurriculars that I did in high school when it comes to the resume section, but this is just to let you know about any courses that you need to take. For more information, definitely check out your college website or the program that you're interested in. Coming to CEGEP, I went to John Abbott College in the science program. I started in 2021 and then I ended in 2023. Now this is just my opinion. If your grades are sufficient, I will definitely recommend you to look into the honor science program. My grades were sufficient, but it was my choice not to go into honor science due to some wrong statements that I heard. People were saying honor science does not really benefit you. While that could be true to some extent, I personally believe that honor science could give a lot of practical experience. Indirectly, it also makes your R score higher because your class average is high. So yes, if that is something that you're interested in, I will definitely recommend you to look into that. Not going into honor science was definitely one of the regrets that I have in college, but again, it's not a requirement for med school, so probably don't worry too much about that. For Med-P, Biology 2 and Organic Chemistry are prerequisites, so I took those along with the other courses offered in the science program. I did graduate like 2 weeks ago and then I got accepted to McGill University. I also applied to a few schools in Ontario and I got accepted there, but I knew my ultimate goal was medicine, which is why I decided to stick to McGill. I also applied to Udem, but I was immediately rejected because I didn't fulfill their French requirements. As I mentioned, I went to an English high school, and after the implementation of Bill 96, as we all know, this is no longer acceptable. So either you have to give a French exam or you request for an exemption. I did request for an exemption, it was rejected. When it came to the exam, I saw that the deadline was 3 months before the application deadline. And also the exam is like $250. And their minimum requirement is really high, so really I was just rejected. In total, there are 4 med schools in Quebec. The other 2 are University of Laval and University of Sherbrooke. I didn't apply to those because their requirement is a French Casper exam. As I mentioned, I'm an Anglophone and my French is not extremely strong, so I knew there was no point of giving a French Casper because I wouldn't get a higher quartile. Now let's get into the application process. The way McGill has divided its application is 70% academics, 20% Casper, and 10% your resume. I know for UDM, it's 30% Casper and 70% academics. Now for academics, MedP is directly looking at your R score, whereas MDCM program is looking at your GPA. For MedP, the average acceptance is around 36 to 37, whereas the cutoff is 34.5. I will personally recommend you to apply even if your R score is below the average acceptance, because I know so many people who got accepted even if their R score was just slightly above the cutoff. Just very quick recap, your prerequisites can be found on the website, but organic chemistry, biology 2 are prerequisites along with any other basic science courses. Now, I just want to throw this in there for any incoming CEGEP students. A lot of people don't put a lot of thought to this, but I personally think it is really important. Your first semester in CEGEP is probably the most important semester. The reason why I'm saying this is because it really just creates a base of your R score. The reason I'm saying this as a base because yes, your overall average R score is an average of all the semesters that you're in CEGEP for. But let's say you get your R score for the first semester and then you get the R score for the second semester. It's really just gonna go up or down based around that. And also because in the first semester, several students are unsure if this is a program they want to be in, what courses they're taking. So while they are navigating through, you really have a good chance if you're staying focused and keeping your academics as high as possible. Second part in the application process is a Casper exam. This is an ethical judgment exam. It's around 2 hours and it's virtual. They're really just looking at 10 personality traits, which consists of collaboration, communication, empathy, equity, ethics, motivation, problem solving, and professionalism. I got 4th quartile in my Casper exam. This is the highest quartile you can get. Casper stopped releasing their scores. The way they express the scores is in forms of quartile. So 4th quartile means that I did better than 75 to 100% of the people. Then 3rd quartile means 50 to 75, 2nd quartile means 25 to 50, and then the 1st quartile means 0 to 25. Compared to other people that I was viewing, I barely studied for Casper. I want to say I studied for a week, but I was actually in Boston for a Harvard MUN conference during that time. So I wouldn't really say that I studied for a week, but I did watch a couple of videos. I did some practice exams. I did some questions. I can definitely make a detailed video about how to prepare for Casper if you're interested. The people that I was watching, they said that they were preparing for 2 months. I was really freaking out, but I have a couple of other friends who also gave the Casper. They got 4th quartile and honestly, they didn't study at all. I will link down a couple of videos that I watched to prepare myself for Casper. I also did the Casper practice exam, and one of the things that really helped me is that during the exam, I had those 10 personality traits printed on paper, so they're really sticking in my mind while I'm writing the answers. The typing skills need to be extremely good for the exam because you have 3 open-ended questions that you have to answer in a span of 5 minutes. I saw the typing speed needs to be 75 words per minute. Mine was slightly lower, so I did a couple of typing tests, typing exams to really help analyze where I was and then also to help improve myself. In that 2-hour exam, they give you a scenario. It could either be a text format, it could either be a video format. And then they give you 3 open-ended questions. The first 2 questions are usually related to the scenario, and then the last question is more like your personal question and about your personal experiences. In those answers, you're never ever supposed to take a decision spontaneously. You really have to show them that you're taking in each factor, you're assessing both sides, and then you're taking a decision based on that. Those 10 personality traits that I had mentioned previously, make sure you include those in your answers. As you have to rush through, don't freak out if you're not able to complete a sentence. This is extremely normal. But yeah, that is basically the criteria of how you're being assessed in your answers. I also used the Bemo guide for Casper exam to help me out. They had a couple of scenarios that I was practicing with, and they give you a general idea of how you're supposed to answer those. Another tip for Casper exam, make sure you have a paper and a pencil in front of you, because that can essentially help you break down the scenario, where you can write your role, the characters that are involved in the basic scenario, and then when you're answering the questions, you really have an idea of what is going on, and then you wouldn't have to go back and look at the scenario all over again. There's also a new thing that Casper introduced, and they're essentially going to ask you to answer a couple of questions in a video format. This is really like an interview, except there's no one in front of you at the moment. Same thing all over again. You have 1 minute to answer each one of those questions. You're really just giving your opinion based on those traits. I'm not too sure about that, but I've heard that McGill doesn't look at the score for the video format because this is a very new thing that Casper introduced. But again, I'm not too sure. Casper directly sends your score to the university that you've applied, and then you can see your quartile around 2 weeks later. Finally, let's talk about your resume. Yes, it only counts for 10%, but really it could be a huge factor when it comes to making you stand out. The applicants for medicine are really strong. The application process, it's really competitive. So having a good resume can really show that you're a unique candidate for this program. It can show that you're an all-rounder. You're able to balance your academics with your extracurriculars as well. And don't take this too light. It's only going to help you in the application process. McGill gives you a template for your resume. The maximum is 2 pages long. So obviously you're not able to add each and everything. Therefore, you only add the relevant experience. And therefore, I'm only going to be talking about those because that is exactly how I was being assessed. So the only thing that I added from my high school was me being awarded the Tammy Chen Memorial Scholarship during my graduation, along with a science fair project that actually was promoted to the regional science fairs. This project was not related to health science at all. It was actually me creating a prototype of better roads which have fewer cracks and fewer potholes when it comes to Montreal's harsh winter conditions. This project was actually awarded the Hydro-Quebec Science for McGill University Department of Mining and Material Engineering Award, along with Project of Distinction in my local science fair, along with the regional science fairs as well. I also included another project that was promoted to the regional science fair. The project was about degradation of microplastic using bacteria like Pseudomonas and Fingomonas strains. Now we come to the CJAP. Now CJAP is actually where I started to get involved in the student life. I was not that involved in high school, but again, this was just for myself. As I mentioned, I only knew that I wanted medicine just a year ago, so every single thing that I did was not just for the sake of my CV, but it was just for myself. I added a few tiny things like me being an active member of a Muslim Student Association at my college, along with ACVOBAC, which essentially is for Cancer Awareness for Youth. I was also in the organizing committee for the Multicultural Week because as a person of color, cultural diversity and inclusion are really important things for me on campus. I also had 2 research experiences. One of them was me being a research associate at JAC Collaboration. This is a collaborative lab where I worked with a couple of team members on a literature review on integrating climate change in a psychology class. And this was under the supervision of a psychology professor at John Abbott. My second research experience is something that you guys really wanted to know about. I did a research internship at McGill University in the Bioresource Engineering department. This is actually related to one of the courses I took. Again, I'm not too sure if this applies to every single CJAP, but at John Abbott, you're offered an independent research science project. In this course, you're paired up with a supervisor in either University of Montreal, Concordia University, or McGill University. They take into consideration your preferences, but there is a selection process for this course. They take into consideration your grades, and after there's an interview, and then you're selected for that course. That project, I actually worked on creating an anaerobic digester with an incredible professor from McGill University. He was extremely helpful. Along with that, I had an undergraduate student helping me out and a research associate. This is a really great way for you to learn something new, something practical. I learned a lot about physics, chemistry, environment, all in that same project. I also got to create a lot of connections because I was actually working at his lab at McGill University. So I was interacting with a lot of people. And yeah, I think it was just a great exposure for me before I actually enter university. It's a 4-month-long project. So there you actually have to present your project towards the end in a symposium, which was really interesting experience as well. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you do have the chance. Don't have this option, I would suggest looking into other opportunities like my tags and other couple of ones that I can link down in the description. Research is something that people start to do in their undergrad years. By you getting a research internship like this before entering medicine, I think it is really a head start for you and just a great thing on your CV. I was also in the executive team of one of the clubs at my college called John Abbott College Model United Nations. I was the Undersecretary General of Public Relations. We were going to a tons of conference, including the Harvard National Model United Nations, along with McGill Model United Nations, and so much more. As the Undersecretary of Public Relations, I was managing the social media, managing all the content, but we were also, hosting weekly meetings, making sure the delegates are doing fine. And we also hosted the 13th iteration of the Jackman Conference, where delegates from all across Montreal come to our conference and they attend committee sessions and so on. This was one of those experiences that taught me so much about teamwork, collaboration, and just leadership in general. During those 2 years at my college, I was on the dean's list for all the semesters. It requires you to have an average of 80% in all the courses. I was also awarded the John Abbott College Service and Leadership Award, given to a student for their contribution in the student life. And then outside of school, I'm currently part of a youth council where I work with a member of the parliament. We take initiatives on local projects, listen to the local community, and just learn a lot about politics and law policies. I'm also a current member of the West Island Cancer Wellness Center, where we're raising awareness for cancer patients and also organizing events to fundraise for them. Last but not the least, this was something that so many of you asked for, and I really just wanted to cover this in as much detail as I can. This is about my work experience as a physician assistant at a pediatric clinic. A couple of reasons I'm actually unable to publicly disclose the name of this company, but if you're based in Montreal and an aspiring medical student, definitely reach out to me on my Instagram. I will link it down below, and then I can give you the link to apply for that position because it truly is a valuable medical experience. As I mentioned, this is a pediatric clinic, so I could get patients from newborns to 18-year-olds. I work with family doctors while assisting them and helping them with patient intake. I'm recording the vital signs of the patients. That includes blood pressure, height, and weight. And I'm also taking the patient intake, which includes the reason for the visit, whether that is sick visits, yearly checkups, etc. The reason why I value this medical experience so much is because each and every patient has a different background. It has a different story. So many patients, you're actually dealing with a variety of cases. I've seen cases from ear infection, UTIs, fever, cold, to anything large like ADHD and depressive symptoms. Another very cool thing about this job is that you get to make a lot of connections with family doctors, medical residents, and medical students as well. I know in med school, especially at McGill, in the first year, medical students are required to shadow a family doctor. So I have met so many medical students at my clinic. You can get so much insight about med school in general from residents, from the students, and so much more. I was actually offered a shadowing position by one of the family doctors who worked there for when I started medical school, and that way I just have a spot secured there. And I don't really have to go out of my comfort zone. Again, if you're interested, let me know and I will definitely send you the application link. For those who wanted to know what I will be pursuing at McGill this fall, I will actually be doing a Bachelor of Science in the Kinesiology program. I actually got accepted into the medicine program, but I was an exception in grade 7. None of my courses were in French, and when I had the conversation with the admissions office, it really require you to have some kind of French courses in each year, whether that is 1 or 2 courses. As I had come from another country recently, none of my courses were in French, and therefore they asked me to do a French exam, and I couldn't make it by 5 marks. Yes, I did cry a lot. I think it was truly something that broke me, but nonetheless, I am very proud of what I had achieved. I am very happy to be doing this undergrad because it is healthcare experience. And I will definitely give a shout out to the MDCM program. By applying through MedP and having an idea of the interview process, I can really just use that knowledge to reapply and maybe have a better chance. I'm truly happy that I have a platform where I can share the medical knowledge that I have with you guys, and I truly hope it helps you guys. As I mentioned, I will be making a lot of videos about my experience in my undergrad and then my journey to medical school. So if you want to stick along with my journey, I would definitely love that. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, put them down in the comments below. I will definitely get back to you about that. That's pretty much all for today, and I will see you next time. Bye!